This is CBC Vancouver News.
It's a very complex investigation involving multiple vehicles.
A deadly crash on the Pattullo Bridge has claimed the lives of 3 young men. It comes just weeks after another fatal collision on the same bridge. Also,
there's been no electricity and there's a lot of old people living here, so we've been trying to help each other out.
Cleanup continues in New Westminster after a major water main break flooded several buildings, displacing dozens of residents, some of whom are still without power. Plus,
we want to retain and maintain our heritage.
How some British Columbians are marking Flag Day in Canada amid looming threats of U.S. tariffs and annexation. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. 3 people were killed and 1 person has life-threatening injuries after a multi-vehicle crash on the Pattullo Bridge Friday night. Surrey police say the crash involved a semi-truck and 2 cars. Staff Sergeant Lindsay Houghton says all 4 victims were young South Asian men traveling in the same car.
All of the individuals hurt or deceased were actually from one of the vehicles. Another one of the passenger vehicles was involved in the collision, but no one was injured from that vehicle. This is a very complex investigation involving multiple vehicles. Our officers have been on scene all night.
He says speed is believed to be a factor in the collision. Houghton says the driver of the semi-truck was not hurt and is cooperating with police. The bridge was closed in both directions for about 12 hours, but has since reopened. This crash comes just 3 weeks after a woman was killed in a head-on collision on the same bridge. Cleanup continues after a New Westminster neighborhood was flooded by a major water main break late Thursday night. Our Pinky Wong spoke with affected residents, some seeing the aftermath of the damage for the first time since having to leave their home.
I'm here at Jameson Court, where 2 high-rises behind me have been without power since the water main break. Metro Vancouver says a 3-foot diameter pipe burst just before midnight Thursday on Francis Way. Water gushing onto nearby streets, seeping into several buildings.
They're pumping the water out from P3 at the moment.
Trotting through mud and water, Blue Civic says just a day ago, many of these cars were submerged after this parking flooded, leaving some residents scrambling to save their cars.
I was helping this lady get out her vehicle, but she had to back out, and we could not get it out. We tried 10 times to get it out, and we finally abandoned the vehicle.
Civic estimates about 100 vehicles are damaged. Andre Pellerin says he just bought his car 5 months ago.
I walked down, it's like up to my knees on the first door, and then I looked at the door to the actual parkade, and it was like, I think over the handle or something, so I knew my car was like gone.
We've got a network of folks in the building. We've already established text lines for like 6 people on our floor.
Crews still busy pumping water out of the parking lot Saturday, while electricians install cables to provide temporary power. Officials say about 50 residents in the affected area were evacuated Friday. Those who stayed behind helping out where they can.
There's been no electricity and there's a lot of old people living here, so we've been trying to help each other out.
For this resident, the damage is devastating. Much of her artwork that she kept in a storage room inside the building destroyed.
I was pretty upset that most of my artworks, including my art supplies, are also included, and that took me about 5 to 10 years to make all those paintings.
Excavation work is underway to determine how the pipe burst. Metro Vancouver says East Columbia Street will remain closed in both directions between McBride Boulevard and Richmond Street.
We just were able to get to the pipe, so our engineers and water services teams will be conducting a full investigation.
He says while work is ongoing, residents may notice cloudiness in their water, but emphasizes it is still safe to drink. They will let people know if the water quality becomes compromised. Pinky Wong, CBC News, New Westminster.
A new case of measles has been confirmed in the Lower Mainland. Health authorities say the infected person lives in the Fraser Health region and recently traveled to Southeast Asia. Officials say anyone traveling on Air Canada Flight 66 arriving in Vancouver on February 11th, or anyone who spent time in YVR's international arrivals area that morning may have been exposed. Measles is a highly infectious disease that can spread through the air. While most Canadians are immune, those born after 1970 or those who are unvaccinated are at risk. As of February 1st, 44 cases of measles were reported in Canada, all in Ontario and Quebec. A single case of measles was reported in BC for the first time since 2019, last March. More than 1,000 Life Lab workers in BC could walk off the job by Sunday.
They're seeing a massive wage disparity with workers doing essentially the same work in hospitals. And we've heard some real horror stories from our members who are working at Life Labs.
The BC General Employees Union says the strike notice follows months of negotiations. It wants wages and benefits to align with the cost of living pressures and for chronic understaffing to be addressed. Workers are planning to hold a one-day strike kickoff rally on Sunday in Burnaby. Life Labs, which offers laboratory tests to diagnose illnesses, is owned by American company Quest Diagnostics. Health officials in the Fraser Valley are warning the emergency room at Mission Memorial Hospital will be closed temporarily overnight due to doctor staffing challenges. Fraser Health says patients in need of urgent care will be transferred to a different hospital. The closure will be in effect until 8 o'clock Sunday morning. The service interruption only affects the emergency department. All other services at Mission Memorial Hospital remain available. Today marks 60 years since the inaugural appearance of the Canadian flag, and in the midst of Donald Trump's broadsides against Canada, it was an anniversary that resonated loudly across the country. The CBC's Nicole Williams reports.
Nothing subtle about it. This National Flag Day, Canadian pride is soaring.
It's the flag that I truly love, being Ukrainian and moving to Canada. And I wear it and, it's part of my fashion statements.
I came to Canada as a 10-year-old. I loved Canada right from the beginning of my 10th year to the present.
Across the country, people are celebrating the maple leaf in a show of patriotism.
Vive la Canada!
And an act of defiance, even in less than ideal weather.
Things seem to be heading in the worst possible direction. So it's time to stand up and be counted if you can stand up in the wind.
It's likely the first time many have actively celebrated since former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien declared National Flag of Canada Day in 1996. It commemorates the day the maple leaf officially replaced the Canadian red ensign as our official flag and flew over Parliament Hill for the very first time on February 15, 1965. Now, 60 years on, with the looming threat of a trade war with the U.S. and threats of another kind from the president.
I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
All of Canada's living prime ministers have issued a call to action. Stand up to Donald Trump by celebrating our flag.
When somebody is actually challenging our identity as a country, we come together, and the flag is a great symbol for connecting us.
A rallying cry many are eager to answer.
We are Canadians! Yeah, tough and hardy!
He needs to know that we're a sovereign nation. We love who we are. We are Canadian.
So, this year's Flag Day, a clear message that Canadians want to stay Canadians. Whether that message is received by our neighbors to the south remains to be seen. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
Saurabh Sandhu now on how some British Columbians are celebrating Flag Day.
This is dated Coquitlam, BC, January the 25th, 1965.
Coquitlam resident Gordon Wickerson reads through an old school newspaper article describing the moment he and his friend hoisted Canada's iconic maple leaf flag at their school for the first time.
On January the 25th, at lunchtime, Rick and I went out and we took the red ensign down and put the maple leaf flag up.
Wickerson says the flag was sewn by his friend's mother just days before the new flag was made official in January 1965.
In raising the flag, Coleman Lake became the first school in British Columbia to fly the new standard.
6 decades later, Wickerson says he's proud to be a Canadian now more than ever, as Canada faces U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to its economy and sovereignty.
Things weren't given to us. We had to fight for them, and we have fought. And I think we're going to have to fight now with Trump and his tariffs one more time to assert the fact that we are an independent country.
Earlier this week, Canada's 5 living former prime ministers wrote an open letter urging Canadians to fly the maple leaf flag, a renewed sense of pride at a time of heightened uncertainty.
I think this has really got us thinking as a Canadian society about patriotism and about being Canadian. You know, sometimes you don't think about it that much.
I personally was born Canadian and I want to die Canadian.
In Kelowna, this group of Okanagan residents spent hours in the cold, coming up with a unique way to show their patriotism, carving a giant Canadian flag out of snow on Ellison Lake.
We want to retain and maintain our heritage and our way of life that we've built over the years.
Dozens of people gathering on the frozen lake Saturday to mark Flag Day with singing of the national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land.
People adorned in red jackets, scarves, and baseball caps.
What an idea. It's just, there's no words that can describe it, and the work they put in, the math that they had to put in, and the cold weather. And they did great. I'm glad to be part of this community.
For Wickerson, today the maple leaf emblem represents Canada's strength, diversity, and growth, as the country marks 60 years since the national flag was first raised. Saurabh Sadhu, CBC News, Coquitlam.
Pierre Poilievre marked Flag Day with what he called a Canada First event, but it looked like a campaign rally. It came as his poll numbers slip amid the provocative statements from Donald Trump, and Poilievre made a point of tackling that issue head on.
Let me be clear. We will never be the 51st state.
Poilievre said Canada must respond forcefully to any U.S. tariff onslaught. He also touched on a number of familiar themes, including support for an oil pipeline exclusively on Canadian territory, fast-tracking other energy products, and significant tax cuts. The rocky relations between Canada and the U.S. are getting strong reactions from Canadian sports fans. Here in Vancouver, hockey fans gathered to watch Team Canada face off against Team USA for the preliminary round game of the 2025 Four Nations face-off.
I think everyone's just excited about hockey, right? We're seeing some of the best players on the world stage. Some of the, the Hughes brothers playing off with Sid the Kid, with Connor McDavid, who hasn't played for a long time in international hockey. I think everyone's just really excited to see this game.
We're here as like a global community, and I think coming out and doing this, like when you have someone that sort of threatens our cost of living and our way of being, I think it's important to come out and take a stand for that. And part of that is through sports, but it's also in a number of other ways.
As expected, it was a close game, but Canadian fans did not go home happy.
That's going to do it. A hard-fought Team USA victory.
The United States pulled out a 3-1 victory. Canada opened the scoring with superstar Connor McDavid netting back hand goal a little more than 5 minutes into the game. But America scored the next 3 goals to win the game, one an empty netter. The U.S. is now guaranteed a spot in the finals. Canada will have some work to do Monday to earn the chance at a rematch. One sure sign of the state of Canada-U.S. relations right now is the reaction of fans in Montreal. From loudly booing the Star-Spangled Banner to singing "O Canada" at the top of their lungs. They made their feelings known loud and clear. CBC's Kwabena Oduro has more from the Bell Centre.
Before the game between Canada and USA started, fans were chanting Canada, they were chanting ole, 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 just to get the Team Canada crowd into it. And then when it came to the anthems, we know that we have been hearing of the USA anthems being booed. Well, that was the same story tonight as Canada versus USA was about to start. They always start with the anthems. And when the anthems was playing, you heard the boos. Take a listen. And the story was not the same thing for the Canadian anthem. When the Canadian anthem was playing, there were loud cheers, there was singing in a cappella format. The singer just told the crowd to go for it. He even told the crowd, sing with me. Let's sing loud, let's sing proud. And that is what happened. Let's take a listen to that. I must mention, before the anthems were playing, there was an announcement by the PA announcer of the Bell Center who said that please respect the anthems. But that did not stop the crowd from booing. I did speak to fans from the US and from Canada about this phenomenon of booing the US anthem. And the people that I spoke to say that hockey and politics don't go hand in hand, and the players on the ice don't deserve to be booed when their anthems are played.
I feel that in sport, politics should be left out of sport. So I don't think, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think we should be booing the national anthems of any country.
It's hockey, it's not politics, so I don't think politics should be in sports whatsoever. So I think I'm not going to boo Canada national anthem. I think they shouldn't boo the American national anthem, you know? So I think we should just play hockey and have fun and have a good time.
The game also started with 3 fights in 9 seconds, and the Canadian fans, when the fights were going on, they were just waiting for the USA players to be knocked down, and it happened in one of those fights, and the crowd was cheering loud. So there is a sense of Canadian pride, and many people that I talk to say that they're very proud to be Canadian, and they want everyone to know that Canada is its own country, and they say that the rift that's happening between Canada and the USA and the threats of tariffs and all that are not going to stop them from showing how proud to be Canadian they are. Cubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
Still ahead, the federal tax holiday is coming to an end. It was meant to give relief to consumers and boost businesses, but was it worth the effort? That's next. The federal government's tax holiday is coming to an end tonight at midnight. It was meant to provide a 2-month tax break on holiday essentials aimed at easing the cost of living pressures. But as Sohrab Sandhu reports, some say the relief was too short-lived to provide any meaningful benefit to consumers and businesses.
February 15th is the last day to skip the goods and services tax on some essential items and holiday favorites.
It was really nice to save a little bit of extra money, like on my, takeaway or going out for dinner with friends.
The tax break was introduced on December 14th on a short list of items, including groceries, restaurant meals, books, games, children's toys, and clothing.
It would be great if that was something that they could that they would permanently do, just especially with everything going on in the States and the tariffs, and it's kind of a time of uncertainty.
Others say the 2-month tax exemption did not mean much.
I think that it just didn't really make as much of a difference on your bottom line because it's 5% only on certain products.
I don't think they're necessarily trying to keep money in people's pockets. I think it's more of a PR thing.
At the time of the announcement, Ottawa said the move was meant to help families during the holiday season, providing Canadians with an estimated $1.6 billion in federal tax relief.
It was a better vote grabber than an economic strategy. Very short term. So did it change consumers' longer term behavior? No, of course not. People make plans on longer than a 2-month horizon.
According to a poll from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, only 5% of businesses reported an increase in sales. 15% of restaurant owners saw a spike in business. Most businesses reported no change overall, with some citing declines in sales.
Small business got a little boost. It might have attracted some consumers in. That was great. It also gave them a greater margin. They didn't have to pay some tax, so they could charge the same price, and suddenly they were doing a little better. So business, small business, as I said, probably benefited from some of this. Medium-sized big business, not so much.
As for the overall impact on the economy, it could take weeks or months to get a better picture of what people were spending during the GST break. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here we have a look at Revelstoke earlier today. Beautiful blue skies and sunny with snow still on the ground. I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
I think it's important to give a human face to the stories that we hear every day, the people that they affect. And I think talking to those people is what really gives us the true sense of the impact of the stories that we're hearing.
This is Vancouver is a new CBC podcast where we explore the issues, the stories, and the people that make this place home. Listen to This is Vancouver wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
Canada's biggest night in music is coming to Vancouver, and we want you to be there. The Juno Awards will be hosted by BC's own Michael Bublé, live from Rogers Arena on Sunday, March 30th. The evening features live performances by Juno-nominated artists, including a special award presentation to rock band Sum 41. Tickets on sale now at cbcmusic.ca/Junos.
All right, it is time now to take a look at our weekend weather. Let's begin with a quick peek at the current temperatures around the province tonight. -30 and chilly in Fort St. John, but clear. -17 in Prince George. Much milder temperatures in Kelowna with a chance of snow flurries in both Kamloops and Kelowna overnight, and a -3. And on the island, precipitation in the form of rain and a high of 3 in both Tofino and Victoria, and I should say a low of 3 rather. -24, mix of sun and clouds in Fort St. John for tomorrow, sitting around the 0 mark for both Kamloops and Kelowna for tomorrow, and a chance of snow, I should say, in Whistler. That snow is going to be mixed with some rain and a high of 4 for tomorrow. And on the island, Victoria and Tofino both sitting around a 7 for tomorrow. Here in Metro Vancouver, our 5-day forecast, rain, rain, and more rain. Starting off with a high of 6 for tomorrow, and that rain will continue into Monday. It's going to be a bit more overcast by Monday and Tuesday until the rain comes back a bit heavier on Wednesday. That is your late news for Saturday, February 15th. Thanks so much for watching. To keep up to date with all the latest news, visit our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you tomorrow.